Goodbye.
I was getting paranoid there. Owen said goodbye, literally on mic, and then police sirens happened. I was like, oh no, he's been taken away.
Contrary to popular belief, I have never been in trouble with the authorities.
Phase one of Sean Baker's hit on this channel is happening. I'm going to be paranoid when the BAFTAs happen. That's where I'm going, guys. That's where I'm going.
So this Nimrod's trying to swat me, and I'm the one that's... Well, actually, no, I'm probably the least respectful of the three of us. Never mind. Carry on.
So, yeah.
That comes later. Go ahead.
It is Hangout Q&A time.
Yes.
In this fallow period between us having done our predictions and waiting for the nominations to be revealed. Which I guess we did have some progress on, which I'll bring up in about 20 seconds, because first I say, hi, I'm Ashley, that's AJ, that's Owen, let's chat. Saturday Night Live apparently is bringing us the Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
Because we have Bowen Yang and is it Sarah Shavat or whatever from Shiva Baby, who is, I can't remember who she is in Saturday Night, mainly because it hasn't come out here yet. I don't know who it is that she's supposed to be portraying.
She Gilda Radner?
She was one of the behind the scenes people. Are you talking about Rachel Sennett?
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't remember the name. Yeah, as Rosie Schuster.
Well, I guess Bowen Yang's appropriate because his movie is he's probably going to be saying his movie's name an awful lot.
But the other Saturday Night gets nothing. So but Bowen Yang is just there all the time. Yeah, I don't think there's been anything else on that front in terms of interesting stuff. Oh yes, Ryan Gosling might be in Sean Levy's Star Wars movie. She'll be intriguing.
Yes, I saw that a few minutes before we started.
Oh, and Vince Gilligan's getting whatever they call the Lifetime Achievement Award at the WGAs. Which I guess makes sense.
It is the 30th anniversary of Breaking Bad as of yesterday, so that makes good for timing.
Mm-hmm. That might be was revealed, possibly. Trying to think, I don't think there was... Now I'm even more confused about how eligible Last Showgirl is for BAFTAs over here, because its release date has shifted back again to the 28th of February, 2 weeks after films are supposed to have been released. So I have no clue.
Did it get a limited window release, like just to get it on the list?
Well, remember, it changed to, there's like a Q&A happening sort of the Monday before Valentine's Day, which is supposed to be the cut-off point. But then that's changed. Because it's supposed to be generally, unless, of course, they're staggering it maybe and sort of releasing it where they need to, maybe in London, but then actually doing a full-on wide release afterwards. Which, if that gets no momentum from the BAFTAs, it's a weird release strategy, to be honest. Then again, I don't know who's distributing it over here. Let me have a quick check. Oh no, it is worldwide. It seems to be Roadside Attraction, so it's Lionsgate. So I guess in that respect, I'm kind of not surprised, because some of Lionsgate's scheduling and whatever is a bit weird. other than that, I'll just mention it here. Bry says the last 2000s Oscar movies he caught over the weekend was The Crime of Father Amaro, Mrs. Henderson Presents, and Man on Wire.
Man on Wire is so good.
It's an interesting trio there.
I had the experience that AJ couldn't do, but it was incredible being able to see Man on Wire in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking of The Walk.
I'm thinking of The Walk, which is what Man on Wire was based on. There you go. So when The Walk came out, I got to see it in like kind of an IMAX screen, and of course that's what the movie version of Man on Wire, which was the documentary for it. So yeah,
I would have passed away.
I know, that's why I said you could never have done that, but it was absolutely incredible to watch.
We just watched it in like 2D at the theater, and like I said,
It was enough.
the thing about it is the scene that I remember fucking with me the most was before he even went up there.
That's all it takes sometimes.
It's when he walks up to the building and puts his chin on it and looks straight up.
Yeah.
Hate that shit.
I remember you saying that.
I mean, good for Zemeckis for portraying that, but no thanks.
I still think him doing that with the chin and looking up is less scary than the entirety of here.
It just...
I appreciated Here's commitment to the concept.
Yeah.
Because I like 10 minutes in, I was like, well, he's gonna do something to cheat or something, or he's gonna find a way around it or something. And then 45 minutes in, it's like, he might actually go all the way with this.
Although I do find it a little bit fascinating that the side characters that weren't Tom Hanks and Helen Hunt were or Robin Wright, sorry, were more interesting than them. It was like, get rid of these two, show me the others.
Not to mention, we did the whole going back to Ben Franklin thing just for the joke when they're in the costumes. It's like that whole section of the movie is just for like one joke payoff.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Mm-hmm. And Josie mentioning again, the first time watches being, is it safe? Carry on constable, just visiting. Carry on sergeant, carry on teacher, carry on nurse, and ladybug. So, other than that, shall we start off with Spencer's stuff?
Yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So Spencer, if you are a longtime viewer, you know that name pretty well. You've seen him bombing out in the chat room, providing commentary, and he has a dozen questions here, so I wanted to go over them. Whether he's here live or not, hopefully he'll check out the response and archive. But yeah,
They're
so
usually pretty fun questions too. So.
Oh yeah, I just usually sit back and let AJ and Ashley talk unless I am asked about specifically, which normally doesn't happen. But some interesting questions here, just looking at them alone. So obviously we're talking about the fact that hard truths is now a thing. So wants to know the idea and thoughts on Peterloo.
As I say, this would have to be Ashley's because I actually missed it.
Interesting.
I mean, I get what it was trying to do, because obviously this was in or around the time of arguably some political, upping in the airing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always feel Mike Lee stuff always coincides, maybe bar Mr. Turner, is always something like it's trying to send a political message. Certainly so because of the whole story of Peterloo, when the North had no sort of representation really in the British Parliament, and to some extent it was. I can't say it's akin to sort of like Bloody Sunday in Northern Ireland, but there was a lot of people protesting, and the military thought, oh, let's beat the crap out of them while we're trying to possibly get one of the leaders of the sort of protest. And it was that much of a bad thing. I feel that the 2.5 running time was a bit of a push.
Mhm.
At certain bits, it certainly felt like it was dragging. I think you might have been able to make it closer to 2 hours, trim a bit. But yeah, it certainly feels, very sort of the fact that even the film, closes with basically the Prince Regent saying, "Oh, thank you for dwelling down the protests, neglecting to mention the fact that how many people were died or injured because of the said thing, even though it was a relatively peaceful protest." Yeah, shot very well. I'll give it. Cinematography wise, it's something that's like an historical sort of epic style thing. It's way better cinematography wise, I would say, than Napoleon was. Mainly because Mike Leigh didn't really try and CGI. He tried to get where he can, filming it and everything to make it look good. But yeah, it did feel a little bit too like trying to. A lot of it just got dragged out, sort of thing. Really. Maybe that's why we haven't seen anything from him for 5 years. Because usually it's sort of maybe 4 years between stuff. And it's not like he did, I believe, anything sort of outside, on TV or theatre or anything like that in between. And Hard Truths feels more like in the vein of your Secret and Lies and things like that. It's less political.
I have like a random Mike Leigh thought, unrelated to Peterloo. Just completely irrelevant, but I was watching a Mark Wahlberg interview recently, and he mentioned Timothy Spall, and he was explaining to the interviewer that Timothy Spall is a great actor from like Mike Leigh movies. And to be honest, when he said that, I was kind of shocked that Mark Wahlberg knew who Mike Leigh was. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, as long as it's not Robin Williams, in better.
Worth doing. It's worth doing right. All right. Spencer continues. Thoughts on Jamie Lee Curtis and her performance in The Last Showgirl? I can chime in on this. We already discussed this a while back after both AJ and I finished the movie. And the whole, is Curtis nominatable, justifiably so, for her performance in The Last Showgirl? Everyone knows that I was definitely not the biggest fan, to say the least, about the last time that Jamie Lee Curtis got nominated for an Oscar.
Let's do
Mine.
let's do this. I've been saying Honora's name all season. I need to hear you say the name.
I have said it once. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
I did say it once. I said it once the other day. There's video of this.
I don't remember you saying it.
I did actually. It was only once, but I said it. Everything Everywhere All at Once is absolute horse trash, and I hate that movie. But the last time that Curtis got her nomination and win was for a movie I hated. Now we fast forward a couple years later, and it's a potential movie that I really like, which I fully support this. I wasn't sure Curtis would be up my alley when I first started seeing what she was doing in the movie, and I was like, maybe she'll be a background character. Maybe she'll be important. I have to feel like something's about to happen. And again, it's a silent dance on a small stage in the middle of a packed casino that made me realize that Jamie Lee Curtis belongs in this lineup. And that's the reason I went all in, pun intended, on anything involving The Last Showgirl that could potentially get into any category on Thursday.
And what I was saying was just how pretty much as soon as you meet her and she just starts talking, it's one of those characters where you can just sort of feel her entire history. Like it doesn't feel like an actress just stepped into the part.
No.
Which can often be the case with parts like that. And it could be one of those look how much I'm acting kind of things. It's like it really just feels like you're watching a real person that's been doing this for a really long time, and you can see somebody that's sort of transitioned from one place to another and is now just living with what they've got, basically.
Right.
Really, it's just really authentic.
And to piggyback on that, Spencer also asked, do you think Pamela will have some more chances to make good movies? The Naked Gun looks fun.
I hope so. There's some really great stuff where like people had this sort of showing what they can do thing, and then the business utilizes that.
Yes.
Then there's like, you know, the Mickey Rourke circumstances where like he gets the wrestler and it's like, dude, this is going to be the start of something amazing, and then it just kind of fizzles out again, which
shame.
I've heard different things about that. I've heard that maybe he's kind of difficult to work with or makes choices that might not be the most beneficial, but then there was also the thing where like he felt fucked over by Marvel, and that kind of took a lot out of him, and that might have killed his drive a little bit, and it's hard to say exactly what happened there, but yeah, the whole comeback thing can go either way, and I hope hers goes in a much more, now that we know what she's capable of thing, we can see more of that.
If I end up being correct, and I'm the only one that went for her in the panel, and she does get nominated on Thursday, I feel that it's just the start of the new generation of her career. She's not in the position she once was. She's actually grown into what could potentially be a really great twilight of an acting career, as long as she gets roles like The Last Showgirl where she can really show her versatility as an actress. Because if you know her from Baywatch or Barbed Wire and you think that that's all she's good for, that's like saying that Kristen Stewart's only good for Twilight. Which anybody that pays attention to these things knows that Bobby P was once Edward Cullen before he became Batman, so anything's possible.
Say Pattinson's been doing amazing shit for like well over a decade, and he's still I still occasionally hear Twilight shit directed at him. Like there hasn't, like time hasn't fucking moved.
That is 100% correct.
Yeah, I was Oh, I was about to say that I think it also helps that when you look at it, a lot of people seem to be rooting for her. I think
Oh,
that helps a lot. Like it's not one of those where it's like now. I mean, now that she's doing, like, I can understand if it was happening like before the Last Showgirl, but now that the Last Showgirl has happened, it feels like people are really rooting for this to go in positive directions for her.
absolutely. And it's interesting because the last showgirl, without the aspect of everything, the character itself very much reminds me of someone that's been in the wrestling business for a long time that has really fallen like from grace to say the least. And I don't think Pamela Anderson is going to end up like Tammy Sitch, and I hope that that doesn't happen. And I feel that she has a level head on her shoulders that now she can move on to a new career as a true dramatic actress.
It's funny how you use a wrestling analogy and you're talking about making new careers, and Batista's in the movie.
Yes, can't let Big Dave not get mentioned at all. His hair is joyous.
Uh,
He's
And
very
keep in
good in what
mind
he
as
does.
well, the Naked Gun film, apparently he's got Cody in it as well.
That is also correct.
Too many wrestlers.
I am I am so on board with the whole Batista becoming a character actor thing. I'm ready for that. I'm really ready for that career.
We put Batista over like hardcore during a couple of shows ago, and we will continue to do so because he's
I was I was I was so thrilled because I heard from my brother the other day because he'd finally watched Glass Onion.
Oh God, let's go!
It's like I'm so happy finally.
I want to hear this.
We just talked about the movie.
Oh,
So,
let's hear.
yeah. Not a particular anecdote after that. Just I'm just thrilled that he saw it finally. After I've been praising it for like over 2 years now.
I am still happy that I had the experience that not enough people had to be able to see that in a very packed theater on an afternoon with everybody laughing hysterically at every single moment. Netflix truly screwed up with Glass Onion, and I don't think they're going to make that mistake again.
I was gonna say with Wake Up Dead Man, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything differently.
Yeah, let's hope so. So, some interesting questions here. Very interesting questions, actually. So, favorite bullet to the head scene in a movie?
There's so many. Well, obviously there's one that's like legendary. That's from one of my favorite movies.
That's the direction I was going to go.
And not only that, there are several in that movie.
Also correct.
Obviously, I'm talking about The Departed.
Yep.
The Departed is basically Headshots the movie.
Headshots in a theater that is completely dead silent, and when it happens, was really entertaining.
Well, it's really interesting because what's great about this sounds weird. What's great about Headshots is they're so good dramatically because more often than not they are instantaneous death.
Oh yeah.
Like a character is alive and then gone in a second when a headshot happens in a movie. And when it happens to characters like that unexpectedly. Like one that I remember, it's for a movie that's not even that good.
That makes sense.
It was a movie with Lawrence Fishburne and I want to say Ellen Barkin maybe, called Bad Company from 1995. There's a lot of movies. There's a lot of movies with that title. I think 95 was that one. And they're the main characters. And the movie ends with them shooting at each other. And just almost like nothing, like completely unexpectedly, she gives him a fucking headshot. And the movie's over. That's the only thing I remember about that movie. Oh my god, there's so many.
I'm actually Departed's interesting because I thought you would go for Marvin.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more like with Tarantino, heads just explode.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of like the swift and kind of clean thing. This sounds like a sadistic conversation.
Well, you got the right. You got another idea that comes to mind. It's funny because I'm looking at Google because that's what I do, especially when I don't know what my answer is going to be. I look at the top 10 headshots in movies, and the answer on top is none of the above. We talked about Marvin. We talked about Billy Costigan. The biggest headshot in a movie, according to this, is one that, yeah, 100% is abrupt. Chad Feldheimer.
Yeah. That's another one where it's like, because of the instantaneous nature of it.
I hate it so much too.
I was also going to mention the one that Gabriel Byrne gives to Turo at the end of Miller's Crossing is great.
Okay. All right. Ashley, do you have an answer?
I mean, the stock answer would probably be the one I've given plenty of times. I mean, Little Bill and Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
because
a
it's
that's a good point.
instantaneous.
Owen, I'm a little surprised you haven't mentioned every one in the Scream series yet.
There's so many great ones in Scream, though.
Well, I mean, I think Billy's is probably something about Billy's and headshots that go really well together.
Wow, that is true.
But yeah, that's why it's so. I went on a whole tirade about this when my brother and I did the series 1 through 5, but it drives me fucking crazy that Emma Roberts didn't get one.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Because that's the series' whole thing.
Mhm.
And her character would not go down. And they expected us to be satisfied by her getting a chest shot, and the movie ends. And it's like, it was right there. She had all you had to do was change where it went. And that's the movie. That's the whole series' thing. Like, that's its trademark. That still drives me crazy.
Weirdly, the only other one that sort of comes to mind that sort of stayed with me is the ending of Wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely.
With just Morgan Freeman like realizing that he's been screwed, and then all of a sudden he does the face like he's been shot, and then like it like nearly in slow mo, this weird bloody bullet that's it's shaped like it's a bloody helicopter starts like peering through his front of his head, and then you like do the whole like rewind to when James McAvoy was 17 miles away sniping him because he got the power. Oh, like,
Oh my God.
That was, by the way, that was a great oh fuck delivery from Freeman as well, right when he realized what happened.
that again, that's the way it sticks in my mind. The bit where everybody in the fraternity or whatever it is sort of surrounding him, and bloody Morgan Freeman just out of nowhere goes, "Shoot this motherfucker!" like
One of the best deliveries I remember hearing for the first time when I watched that movie, and I was like, "Yeah, he went there."
I unapologetically love that movie, by the way. You
Love it.
can't, no, guys, you can't see it. I have the poster on my ceiling. It's right over here.
Great.
I mean, I appreciate Timur's work because Night Watch and Day Watch were really great films. I mean, that's probably why he got the gig to do Wanted in the first place, I would argue.
That makes sense.
Because of how well he did with them.
That spine sword in Night Watch is one of the coolest things I've ever seen still.
So we move on to another question, which is very unique.
Yeah, it's like we can move on. I'm still trying to think of other cool headshots.
That's fair. Favorite part of Taken 3?
Well, it's a cliche to say the end credits. Okay, I'll tell you actually. It's not when he took out the wheel of the plane with the car. It's that scene gave us the scene in Game Night where they reference it.
That's good.
Because the only thing anybody remembers about Taken 3 is the fence jump.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have forgotten the plane thing if not for Game Night. Anybody else remember anything from Taken 3?
No,
I was surprised that didn't they kill Famke Janssen off in that one? That was kind of surprising.
Those movies just bled together for me.
I don't think it was a good call to kill her off, but I remember being legit surprised, which is more than I would have expected from Taken 3.
The irony is with that whole thing and whatever, basically it became, she got killed because, somebody owed her money. It was like, so this is like a weird twist on John Wick, right? Okay, it's not the husband, well, the ex-husband himself that's sort of going on the rampage, because obviously the ex-husband is the one that she remarried after Brian, but yeah, I remembered the first one vividly, and then 2 and 3 sort of get very sort of, it's just Liam Neeson basically doing a Charles Bronson in Death Wish, and that he isn't going to be killed off.
I just got so tired of Brian Mills as a character. I did not want to see Liam Neeson do anything else in movies ever again, and I kind of snake bit him for me as an actor because I was not interested in any of his Taken movies or his Taken ripoff movies, which bleeds into the next question: what's your favorite Taken ripoff movie?
And I got 2 more headshots. I don't know about the Taken.
Jesus.
No, when I hear
I sense a
I'm not
pattern.
even sure. I'm not even sure what a Taken ripoff is, because when I think of, are we just talking about Liam Neeson's follow-up movies, or?
It's not elaborated in the question. It just basically says your favorite Taken ripoff.
Well, before I forget them, the other 2 headshots. Michael Bowen in the finale of Breaking Bad, and the last henchman in Die Hard when he shoots him and Hans. That's smooth. I love that.
And I have a feeling we're not done.
Is it favorite Taken ripoffs?
Yes. Movies like Taken, but not exactly Taken. We like to equate this with Tyler Perry movies.
So the only thing I can think of is just Liam Neeson's other action movies, if that's what that qualifies as.
Doesn't really say, so I would say it's up to your interpretation.
Yeah,
Oh. Well, I guess that director, didn't he do like From Paris with Love and stuff like that? His movies are all kind of similar as well.
yeah, from at least the first one. Yeah, even the bloody Canary Black that showed up last year on Amazon Prime was like, oh, basically it's that. I forgot he also directed Cena in bloody Freelance back in 2023 as well. Oh, there's Peppermint, yeah. The Gunman, Sean Penn's one. Yeah, it's less Taken ripoff. It's more the film works of the said people in things afterwards.
You know what's pretty mind-blowing in retrospect, especially? I could be mistaken. There's probably something I'm not thinking of. But there is a possibility the gunman was my introduction to Mark Rylance. Which is, when you know his history on stage, is kind of insane.
One of my favorite things about him is going to be, hey, kick ass! And he steps out of the car.
That'd be Mark Strong.
Mark Strong. God dang it.
Well,
Mark Rylance is Bones and All and Bridge of Spies. And
That's right.
Oscar winner.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
think.
I'm not going to talk anymore. That's the reason why I don't do QA shows.
Did you see Anonymous? You know, the who actually wrote Shakespeare one?
Yeah, that's
'Cause
that
was
Shakespeare
a few years
movie, right?
before.
It's so insane to me that Roland Emmerich made that movie.
And then he was also in the other Berlin Girl with Banner and Johansson and Portman as well.
Okay, so I'd seen him without knowing who he was. He's one of those.
Sorry.
I'm
I'm getting distracted by the work of Mark Rylance because apparently his next project that's apparently premiering at Cannes, which, by the way, there was some interesting reveals for Berlin, which I'll bring up in a few bits once Spencer's questions are done. So yeah, Terrence Malick's new project is The Way of the Wind, which is the story of Jesus, and Mark Rylance is playing Satan.
Yeah.
All right.
Sign me the fuck up!
Fun. That sounds very fun.
Restaurant scene in The Godfather. Headshot.
So, Spencer asked specifically, AJ, anybody that has watched Versus knows AJ's dislike for Alex Pettifer from I Am Number 4. Has any actor replaced him as an actor you hate?
Would it have been the Magic Mike video I brought that up? I'm trying to remember when this would have come up because we weren't doing videos when I'm Number 4 was out. And I haven't seen that movie since 2011. That isn't came out, right? Is there? There has to be.
I know somebody you don't like too, but I don't know if he's replaced him or not.
Filmmakers don't count.
I'm not talking about him. We don't talk about him anyway. He's like Bruno.
Who are you thinking?
No, he's just as beloved, but neither of us get the reason why. Yep.
I don't know. I don't dislike Ryan Reynolds for the same reasons.
No, that's true.
Because to my understanding, not only, I don't know.
Well, the last time you had a chance to talk about Alex Pettifer was Ministry of Ungenitally Warfare.
Oh, that's right. He's been doing better work when he's around, which I feel like is not very often. Because I think around that time he got famous, he kind of burned some bridges. I think he and Channing Tatum did not get along. And that was around the time he started really burning his bridges and kind of disappeared. I remember him in Time,
mm-hmm.
which I believe to be pretty underrated personally.
Definitely.
Everybody repeats the same bullshit of, it had a great concept, but it's a terrible execution. And it's like, I thought it was fine. Nice early Cillian Murphy villain too. Well, I say early, it was like 6 years after Red Eye, and Batman Begins, but still.
All right.
A different kind of Cillian Murphy bad guy, we'll say.
Best, or not really best, but in your case, favorite Jennifer Aniston performance?
When asked that question, people are probably supposed to say the good girl, but my memory of the good girl isn't extremely vivid.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, this might sound silly, but if you've watched it relatively recently, you'll get where I'm coming from. Do you know what movie she's genuinely really, really good in and has a particularly really heartbreaking scene? Is Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
The scene when he's eavesdropping while she's praying for him is like heart shattering. That comes to mind. I said, I'm sure technically it's probably the good guy. I didn't really take to is Cake the one that she did where she was like the I don't even remember what was going on in that movie. She was hallucinating Anna Kendrick and it was like super serious. I can't remember if she was recovering from something, if
Yeah,
it was
she was in a car
addiction
accident
or
and whatever, so I guess it was like PTSD from that, maybe.
Yeah.
that
I,
one that one didn't really stick the way it was probably supposed to for me.
I like her in Horrible Bosses,
Yeah.
Office Space.
Yeah, we tend to
Rhythm
forget.
Builders was fun.
Yeah. I would say we tend to
her in,
forget how
I didn't mind her in Life of Crime as well.
yeah. The movie that nobody realizes is connected to Jackie Brown technically.
Yeah.
I'm a mark for Wanderlust, but blame my love of the state for that.
So yeah, because she's kind of playing the straight role in that.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels like the Paul Rudd, Justin Theroux show.
I mean, if we're gonna do this right, there's only one answer I can truly give. There was a wonderful computer game that came out in the year 1997 that starred Quentin Tarantino and Penn and Teller and Jennifer Aniston. It was called Steven Spielberg's Director's Chair, and I very much enjoy her character of Laura in that movie. It's one of the greatest things that's ever been invented. I love Director's Chair so much, where you could actually literally put a movie together and then premiere it and everything. Like you had to do everything. It was wonderful. You got to edit and things like that. It was really cool. And I got it because Penn and Teller were a part of it. But yeah, Jennifer Aniston is Quentin's girlfriend in the movie, and it's some good stuff. So yeah, if you get a chance to see that on YouTube somewhere, feel free to. It's some fun stuff.
I mean, technically, somebody remastered the fucking thing and has made it playable on a website as well.
Oh,
It's
please
been
send me
rebranded, I
that link.
think, rebranded as Director's Choices instead. But yeah, so it says we salvaged the game's raw footage and reorganized it as a real-time interactive movie experience,
Oh
rather
God,
than being
send this
sort of an actual
now.
sort of. So basically, it's like Bandersnatch, but probably good. Well, sorry, no, I shouldn't say Bandersnatch because that was actually a pretty good interactive thing on Netflix. But the fact that practically every other thing other than Bandersnatch that is an interactive, choose your own adventure style thing on Netflix got deleted off the system last year shows you how well that concept worked for them.
It's so cool because it's like a behind the scenes of how to make a movie, and it's just like I totally recommend it to anyone, especially if you're able to get your hands on it. It's a fun way to kill some time. Like Ted and Terry wrote it, so I thought that was cool as well,
Yeah.
given their background.
But
I love that game.
does it have David Lynch going, Horizon here, interesting. Horizon here, interesting. Horizon here, boring as shit.
No, but you can make Quentin Tarantino and Jennifer Aniston make out if you really want to see that. It's in the movie.
Ashley just brought up
Headshot.
Lynch. Ashley just brought up Lynch.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper, Blue Velvet, Headshot.
Yeah.
By the way, thought of another one that's one of my favorites. This is probably me. I can probably put the cap on this question with this answer.
Okay.
This one's genuinely one of my favorites because it's so cold-blooded in the best way. The one Viggo Mortensen gives William Hurt in A History of Violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the best.
That's fair.
One of the most heartbreaking headshots on a Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh my god, yeah.
Tracy has a headshot from Irma Bunt's bloody SMG or land gun, like.
Josie agrees with you about Bruce Almighty as well. It makes her tear up too.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Almost done with questions for Spencer. And he has actual questions in chat. Welcome, Spencer. Will James Cameron ever disappoint? Love the guy. Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask me, it already happened. Right?
People still. I mean, here's the thing: as Avatar comes out, it's one of the biggest movies ever. Everybody bitches it's not that great. Everybody says, "Oh, it doesn't have any lasting impact. Oh, nobody remembers it. Oh, nobody talks about it. Oh, the second one's gonna bomb. Oh, the second one's gonna the second one's gonna be so embarrassing." Second one comes out, it's one of the biggest movies ever. And now that the third one's coming, they're fucking at it again.
Well, I was always on the bandwagon of Avatar sucks, and I don't need anybody to be with me on that bandwagon. I could care less. I never liked those movies.
I didn't mind the first one, but it never sort of stayed with me. The second one did just feel like most movies do when you know it's a trilogy. In that, oh, well, we've done that basically just to lead into the third one, which I don't think helps, to be honest. If you make films, under the impression that there's not one happening again afterwards, I feel much more resonance with it if it still manages to sort of hold out and be interesting.
But what I will say is, as much as I hate Avatar, and as much as I hate Cars, and as much as I hate How to Train Your Dragon, at the end of the day, these are three of the best constructed theme park lands that exist. And obviously sight unseen with Burke, because we don't open till May. And I'll see it before then, but it's going to be a while. I will say that Pandora at Animal Kingdom and Cars Land at California Adventure are two of the best constructed theme park lands on the planet from two of my least favorite movies I've seen. So I am okay with more theme park when it comes to Pandora, because I know it's coming to California. It's going to Disneyland. That got officially announced last year. So I don't care about the movies, but give me more theme park lands.
Well, I'll say this about the two Avatars real quick is I loved the first one when it came out. You witnessed it firsthand.
I 100% did.
And everybody's saying like, "Oh, it doesn't hold up if you're just watching it on TV or something." I rewatched it. Now, granted, yes, it's not a movie I go back to often, but I revisited it on Blu-ray when The Way of Water was coming out. I still love the first one. This many years out, I still did. And then The Way of Water does have peaks and valleys as far as being engaging. But for the most part, I think it's there. And something I really loved was I did see it twice in the theater, and both times I came out, it was listening to the other people and how, like, the way they were talking about how in awe they were of it, I found really nice. Like, the fact that movies can still make people feel that way and make people say, how was that possibly made? is really like when it feels like we know all of filmmaking secrets at this point. For people to still be that in awe when they see something is really magical in a way. So I appreciate it for that too.
That's fair. Favorite underrated Ridley Scott movie? It doesn't even have to be your favorite. It's just the most underrated Ridley Scott movie.
I'm gonna have to pull up his filmography because he's made so many fucking movies.
But I've gone to as
well, I got to throw this out right away. You want to talk underrated Ridley Scott movies?
well.
I really like Gladiator 2. I'm not even ashamed to say it. It's so fun. And like I understand the first movie is like this stoic, iconic, legendary
Exactly.
thing. Like I understand what the first movie is, and I completely understand the second movie is not that.
No.
But I don't know, between the characters and the set pieces, the fucking sharks, the poorly CGI'd monkeys, Denzel, everything he's doing, Quinn and Heckinger, there's so many the fight scene with him and Pedro Pascal and how it ends. I just found Gladiator 2 so satisfying, and I'm knowing well aware it is not the same thing at all as what the first movie is. But to be completely honest with you, I'm probably much more likely to revisit Gladiator 2 over the first one because it feels weird. I guess because of its fun nature, it feels light. Like it feels easily rewatchable in a way that the first movie feels like heavier and more tragic. I don't know. I will stand by Gladiator 2, to be honest with you. I still think Prometheus gets really underrated.
That's my answer. That video exists on this channel if you haven't seen it.
Well, you're going for all the ones that people list off because they're his blockbusters. Sandwich between Kingdom of Heaven and Hannibal and Black Hawk Down was Matchstick Men.
Yes.
A film that doesn't feel like it is a Ridley Scott thing, but he just does so well with it.
What I was gonna say about Matchstick Men was I was gonna struggle to call it underrated because the people who have seen it love it, but it's definitely like not mentioned, like it's underseen probably.
That's a better way to put it.
It also has a sometimes I forget this. It does have a video on this channel.
It does.
I actually really dug. I mean, it's an Oscar-nominated movie, but I think that's what people remember it for more than anything else. This detail, but I was a pretty big fan of All the Money in the World. And like I said, just on top of the fact of how quickly and effectively he did the Christopher Plummer thing is insane. Like, I remember how weird it was because when you watch a movie in the theater when it's brand new, you're under the impression, oh, they probably shot this months ago or a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. I go to All the Money in the World the day it opens, and it's like I'm watching things from like weeks ago, things that were shot weeks ago. That was a crazy experience.
Best use of to get a completely different direction. Best use of a love scene in a movie.
One that comes up a lot, circles us back around to Cameron. If you want to talk about plot relevant, that'd be the first Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
There's the scene in Boogie Nights when they do that first when he does that first scene with Julianne Moore is interesting
Weirdly enough,
because
that was kind of jumping in my head too.
it shows us him being integrated into the world like officially, but it also shows the relationship all the characters have with Amber
Hmm.
and how she has that sort of maternal vibe to her despite what they're doing.
And despite
There's
her
there's
own
a lot going
maternal
on there.
issues, with her relationship and everything as well.
Yeah.
And we have favorite film set in one location.
I mean, you saw the movie club of it, Sleuth. Sleuth has the advantage of actually just being within, the property and the grounds of the property. God knows how they do it actually on stage when you're obviously way more limited with what you can cram onto sort of a theatre stage and things like that. The film version at least gave it a little bit more room to breathe, even though it's sort of a one thing. Also, really, the simplicity of Rope.
Yeah.
Just the whole sort of, bedroom apartment sort of thing.
Rope definitely has to be at the top for me, I
Mm-hmm.
think, or like really close to the top. I also like is Death and the Maiden the one that's a chamber piece? I think so. There's a few movies in that era I get a little mixed up. I think Death and the Maiden's the one I'm thinking of with Kingsley and Sigourney Weaver. I think that was mostly a chamber piece, right?
I think so.
I'm gonna go with Carnage.
Yeah. That is Carnage is fun.
Yes.
I do also just wish that they had made it feel a bit more authentic in how it's always apparent when they're always almost out the door and then they find a reason to come back in.
Right.
Could have probably been a little more authentic and smooth, but
Let's see. We got chat as well, and then once we get done with this part of chat, we have some things to talk about. Ashley, is that what you're saying?
Just because I noticed, because of said director Bong, and Mickey 17 got announced today as one of the films. It's not in competition, but it's going to be premiering at Berlin next month,
I'm very much looking forward to this movie.
along
I was
with a
gonna
few other films of note that I'm just having a look over and everything.
say
I
when you mentioned stuff to talk about and you said Mickey 17, I was like, don't tell me it's moving again.
No,
no,
although interestingly, I don't know how we know this, but we know there's at least 19 Mickeys. Because the credits he is Mickey Bonds and Mickey's 2 through 19. So there will be at least 19 credits. I can't wait for them to go on SAG and it's like we're crediting him for Mickey 1, Mickey 2, Mickey 3, Mickey, and there's just a list them up.
it's going to be a fun year for Stephen Yoon. Just the beginning of it.
Also, considering the book it's based on is Mickey 7, it's like Pong went, nah, 7's not enough. We need more.
It's fair.
Like when Cameron wrote aliens and made the dollar sign with the S. It's like Bong just wrote teen on the.
That's fine.
Spencer put a few in chat as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Favorite on-screen pairing of the year.
I need to probably think about it more, but my knee-jerk reaction is Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor.
I'm gonna go Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore.
I was about to say, do they count?
I 100% think they count.
Because technically, there's only one instance where they're together, and that's quite literal.
Yes.
Trying to think. I don't want to say Reynolds and Jackman, but it sort of did feel like they were actually enjoying themselves. Which, considering how we've seen the detritus that is a lot of the superhero movies in the last few years, of it, people like just feel like they're doing it for the sake of doing it, and to actually have people on the screen that look like they're having fun and enjoying it, yet alone, Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes sort of showing up, getting a chance to sort of resurrect their careers. That it sort of felt like maybe a farewell to Fox, even though Fox kind of fucked them over in some respects.
I'm trying to think outside of my favorite movies of the year, but I mean, Eisenberg and Culkin has to be one of the big ones.
I'm looking at my list of favorite movies of the year.
It sounds like you're on the verge of saying one.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to go with it. I mean, Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I like Lisa Frankenstein. I will not apologize for that at all. I'd say Cynthia and Ari is up there too.
I guess.
Dude, you just gotta watch
it'll be
together. They're like the most like. Actually, no, I got an answer for this. Oh, what is his name? I can't remember his name. Obviously, I feel bad because he's also in another movie that I really enjoyed this year. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Melissa Barrera and Tommy Dewey.
You're a monster.
Not enough people saw that movie, and that really needs to change.
I still haven't seen it. It's been recommended to me several times.
It's so good too. I'm so glad it was a mystery movie because I probably would have missed it given like awards season or something like that. I would have had to watch stuff that was deemed as important.
See, I remembered his name because he's O'Donoghue in Saturday Night.
That's the other movie I was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really strong ones this year. I didn't even think about that till just now.
I've been a Kyle Gallner guy for a bit.
Strange Darling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Strange Darling.
I was just thinking about Gosling and Blunt too.
I thought about saying that too, but I thought you'd go with it.
Yeah, I am.
That's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, like really, I mean, just really though, if you want to talk like lightning in a bottle chemistry, Feist and O'Connor just immediately jumps out to me. Them and Eisenberg and Culkin.
I saw the TV glow too.
Yeah, Vigilante Payne and Justice Smith, I believe is his name.
Yep.
Yeah, they're both so incredibly, insanely good in that. That last, I mentioned this before. Still, that very last shot of I saw the TV glow where he's wandering around the arcade is still haunting me.
I mean, I know it's brand new and it's brand new in my head, but I feel like it has to go without saying. I would have to go with Swinton and Moore.
Yeah.
Their chemistry in Room Next Door is great. Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum.
Oh, and Fly Me to the Moon.
I liked Fly Me to the Moon a lot, actually.
You know, I actually still haven't seen that.
That's fair.
Well, if we're gonna throw out Swinton, I'd like to throw out Swinton and Julio Torres in Problemista.
There you go. A movie I never got a chance to see. Ever. I never will.
Spencer also says actors and actresses that surprised us this year.
Fucking Demi Moore.
Yeah. Yes.
Good God. Pamela Anderson.
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, I mean, Quaid's always been
Me, Dennis Quaid. I've been a clear Quaid hater for a long time.
A lot of people have said that Quaid doesn't have a lot of range. I'm old enough to remember when Far From Heaven broke out, and that was like, whoa! I did not see that coming from him. Oh, and by the way, I guess I can kind of apologize to him because I made the joke about, well, you know, he made Reagan and they were out at the same time. But how I said when he did The Substance, did he realize what movie he was in? Apparently, he has really praised The Substance for what it is. So good on him for recognizing greatness and being a part of it. What was the initial question? Oh, the surprising us.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. I just mentioned Justice Smith and the way he's still haunting me. He was that kid from Detective Pikachu before I saw the TV glow. It's like, damn. He effectively plays like a teenager and a middle-aged guy that's like possibly towards the end of his life, effectively in the same movie.
Nicholas Hoult in general. He's always been good.
I was gonna say he's been impressing us since he was a child.
I know, but it just felt like this year it really clicked into place.
Yeah, because it's like because he can do most things, and like the last year or two, he's shown us that he can do most things one after the other, after the other, after the other. So I get what you mean.
To me,
and he was in the Criterion Closet today as well. That was fun.
To me, Naomi Scott was my surprise.
That's a good one.
Because she was solid as Pink Ranger in Power Rangers, I felt. And then...
There's no other Pink Ranger.
She didn't do too bad in Aladdin, but, you know, that's another one where I feel like we didn't need a live-action version of it. And then the Charlie's Angels reboot is like... It's weird that it makes me bloody nostalgic for the bloody McG ones. They just felt like sort of great sort of popcorn stuff, and it was like I don't know what it was trying to do because it did nothing for Kristen Stewart. Hell, it definitely did nothing for Naomi Scott because it took 5 years before she then had the gumption to do Distant and Smile too. Because I don't think well she was in Anatomy of a Scandal, the miniseries, but that was sort of only a few episodes, so there wasn't really anything outside of that. And then bloody Ella Balinska, who was the best one of the three in that film, and she's basically gone to do barely anything. She showed up, I think, in Skincare. The Elizabeth Banks, like, it's weird. It's like the whole skincare thing feels like in some alternate universe she made the substance.
Yep.
So that's like an interesting double feature, I guess.
That's what the trailer felt like when I kept seeing it. Skincare never came anywhere close to me, which is weird. But I mean, the thing is, I got trailers for it constantly.
And then she's showing up next to the Nick Cassavetes movie. It just seems very random with a limited theatrical release tomorrow. So,
Helpful.
you know, Ella was the one that looked the most promising, and yet her career's gone really downhill, and I feel bad for that. To be fair. Back to the thing. Spencer says there needs to be more movies about chess, which has made me go, why have they still not yet, considering the success of Mamma Mia, adapted Chess the musical into a movie?
Maybe there's not enough of a demand for it.
I mean, I'm wondering whether, because apparently there is a Broadway revival coming later this year. I wonder if they're going to try and get momentum off that to try and make it happen. You know, it has been in the works for however many decades. Which makes sense because of how strong the original production was in the 80s, but I feel it's weird.
It's like Rocky Horror and Shock Treatment. Two sides of the same coin.
Mm. Any fun theatre experiences this year? The closest one I can have, and it wasn't directly, it was just one of my friends that saw it and relayed this to me. They saw Strangers Chapter 1.
Oh, God.
And I guess afterwards somebody sort of, you know, as they were sort of going down the steps and whatever to get out the screen was like, wow, you know, I hope we don't have any more of them. And my friend said, oh, it's a trilogy. And apparently their voice was like, oh, God, you know, as if like something terrible had happened, you know, like that sort of thing. It was the realization of they're still trying to, you know, they're still trying to make a thing out of it. So,
I mean, nothing really. I mean, I guess my theater experiences this year were pretty uneventful. I think the only thing that stands out really is, well, seeing Baby Girl, and I was the only guy in there, was interesting.
Yes.
But the only thing that stands out, this is how uneventful it was when I saw The Fall Guy. There's the scene when they're on the phone and it's the split screen and they're talking about her favorite movies like Notting Hill and stuff like that, and then he mentions Love Actually, and she says, you know, I actually rewatched Love Actually, and now I don't think that I love it, actually. And somebody in the crowd went, "Aw." They were so disappointed she doesn't love Love Actually anymore.
I think I've told all the stories on here throughout the year. The girl next to me in the substance, which was hilarious. I also had the baby girl treatment with only being the only guy in there. That was just strange. Trying to think if there's any good ones. I guess Ghostbusters is one of my favorite ones because if you've seen Bean, you know there's a wonderful scene in the movie where the movie theater seats have a mind of its own and they are like jacked up to 11 and they basically yeet this person into existence. I almost saw this happen in real life when I went to watch Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in 4DX. That's an interesting experience. If you get a chance to do a 4DX movie, it's expensive, but if you get the right movie, it's worth it.
There was also, this one's kind of mean, and I probably shouldn't say it.
But you're going to anyway. Go ahead.
Well, it was when I saw Real Pain, which I was shocked our theater even had.
Yeah, no lie.
So when I went in there, I was not surprised that I was the only one. And you know, there's something about when you're the only one in the theater. Like there's just a nice feeling about that, where it's like just you and the movie in this big room. Sometimes it's terrifying, like if it's Annabelle Creation or the newest Candyman, which both happened to me as well.
Oh boy.
Those were in the big auditoriums too.
Oh no.
No, Annabelle Creation was the one where the fire alarm went off halfway through as well. But so yeah, I'm in a Real Pain and I'm the only one in there. And the movie has started. The movie is like 15 minutes in. Like they've been on the plane and they're there now. They're like in the hotel and they're checking in. No, actually, they may have already gotten to the group. And then two people come in. And it's this woman escorting this woman that must have been 150 years old. And it's like, oh, I understand why they're late. You see, it's a cruel, mean story to see that as something humorous, but
I hate when people are late to movies. I'm sorry. Get there on time, please, or make it Broadway rules. Like if you don't get to watch a movie until the next reel change if you miss the beginning of the movie.
And here's the thing: is me and the younger woman were laughing quite a bit.
Sure.
And I kept seeing the younger woman turn to the older person. And I don't know if they were checking to see if they were enjoying the movie or if they had to keep checking if this person was still alive.
I knew that's where you were going with that.
It's very mean. I should not have said that, but that's how a Real Pain went.
I'm getting distracted by an article from Elle magazine. It says it didn't work out, but apparently originally Pattinson was trying to get his Mickey character to be a variation of Steve-O.
I heard that too.
And that's just put me off kilter for the last 5 minutes. Like,
well, I can get you back on track here because we have questions.
Spencer does mention when he saw Sing Sing, someone was found out to be a cheater and there were shoes thrown in the theatre.
I do remember that a long time ago my ex used to throw like lemon Sour Patch Kids at people in the theater.
I mean, I think it's the fact that it's Sing Sing of all things.
It's so weird.
That person will now forever associate Sing Sing with that moment.
Trap and I Saw the TV Glow are a good double feature.
They're both great movies.
What was the first one?
Trap and I Saw the TV Glow.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I I'm assuming it doesn't mean a Godot feature like thematically, just as like an entertaining one.
Yeah.
Even though one is good because of how like seemingly intentionally ridiculous is. We did our whole trap defense, I think, before.
Yes, we put over trap quite a bit actually.
It's like you can bash the movie all you want. Shyamalan knows what he's doing at this point.
Yes.
And I've heard the theories of how it's in the split Unbreakable universe, and it makes way too much sense. It has to be. Of course, I saw the TV Glow is haunting and existential.
Fantastic movie.
No, it's just the next one is.
I can't read anything. I had to
Spencer
reset the
says,
computer.
"Did you guys watch Skincare?"
We just mentioned that a minute ago. I didn't get a chance to see it, but
I think I had like one chance to, and I didn't jump on it. But did she direct that also, or is she just in it?
No, she's just in it. Ironically produced by Logan Lerman.
nice.
That's random.
Yeah, I know. It's a feature debut for Austin Peters directing. He co-wrote the script for a few others as well, but yeah, it's Elizabeth Justin. I don't think she's exec producer either or anything like that. I want to say I don't think it ever got a cinema release over here. It might be available somewhere digitally for me to catch up on. Oh yeah, apparently it is rent and buyable on Amazon. Is it cheap? No. I'll bookmark it though, so when it gets cheaper, I might pay attention to it. Let's all remember that moving violations is the best.
Hell yeah.
AJ's top watch movie review is the 16 films from 2016 with King Cobra.
Why? I wish I knew why. I'll do a video and it'll be like, you know what, that went well, because that doesn't happen often. Where I finish a video and it's like, I think that went really well. I think I got all my points out in the way I wanted to, and I didn't feel like I stumbled or anything. This is really good. Nobody fucking sees those. The ones where it's like, oh, I fucked that up, and it's like, oh, I'm just throwing this out just to do it. I don't really give a shit. Those are the ones that suddenly
yes.
It's a little depressing. I forgot King Cobra existed till just this moment.
It was my first roller coaster credit after all.
It was such a wasted opportunity of a movie too. It was like, what did I say? It was like it's like a combination of Bully and Boogie Nights.
That sounds great.
But it's not.
Yeah, that's what you said.
And one of my favorite people, Christian Slater, is like the Bobby Kent of the movie.
That sounds great.
Yes, it does. It really does. But alas.
It's the Homer Simpson response. That sounds great. That's bad.
Also, the top watch versus is the Final Destination one.
Interesting.
Okay.
I buy that.
Spencer also asks, any new Stephen King videos in the works?
Two actually. There's one that I left off on the book versus movie, and when the monkey comes out. Those will probably come out around. I'm kind of saving the book versus movie to where those will probably come out around the same time.
Best Superman Clark Kent from Smallville.
I never watched Smallville.
The guy that's in Superman and Lois is not too bad in terms of, a rival to that, I would argue. But
I mean, it's not a good thing to say now, obviously, given the circumstances, but I was always big into Dean Cain.
mm-hmm.
I just love that Michael Rosenbaum has a signed Superman the movie poster signed by Gene Hackman. And Hackman personalized it to him as to the second best Lex Luthor.
That's cool. I'm not even a Superman mark. I think that's cool.
And that's everything from Spencer that I can see.
That's Chad.
So the things I wanted to highlight that look interesting from the Berlin announcement. In competition, we've got Marion Cotillard's next project, The Ice Tower, from Lucille Hadowich, or Hadzwil. I can't pronounce it. I'm trying to see what she's done. She did Earwig a few years back. But yeah, the plot seems very weird. An actress shooting a film adaptation of The Snow Queen, which I guess lets some sort of weird thing. Because it says a runaway teenage orphan takes refuge in the studio and they become fascinated with each other. And of course, Gaspar Noé's in it as well. That sounds about right. Wait, what the hell is this? If I had legs, I'd kick you. From Mary Bronstein, who did Yeast 15, 20 years ago. But yeah, it's Rose Byrne, ASAP Rocky, and Conan O'Brien.
What the hell? Alright. I'm intrigued.
It's also showing up at Sundance this week, actually, because Sundance is happening this week. We've also got trying to get the other one. Yeah, Dreams, Michelle Franco's new film with Rupert Friend and Jessica Chastain. It says a lot that that's all we know. Although the fact that the international rights have been sold to the Match Factory, I don't think that's going to get a major release. So Jessica Chastain's not trying again.
It sounds unflattering.
Yeah.
But I actually hope that Rupert Friend loves that whenever I hear his name, the very first image that pops in my head now is the scene of the death of Stalin when he accidentally spits on himself. Like, you say his name, and that's immediately the first image.
And the last one of note that's in competition, at least, is the next film from Richard Linklater. The Blue Moon, the Oklahoma, the Rodgers and Hammerstein, basically, project.
I know nothing about it, but I want it.
Ethan Hawke as Lorenz Hart, Andrew Scott as Hammerstein, Margaret Qualley's in it.
Oh, I did hear
Bobby
about
Cannavale's in it, so who knows?
I did hear about this. I didn't know it was Linklater's new one.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I want this now.
And from the scriptwriter of Me and Orson Welles as well.
That makes perfect. I was just about to say it sounds like that,
Yeah,
basically.
it sounds like a nod to sort of the older days and everything.
It's the one about like the premiere of Oklahoma or something.
Yeah, it's set largely on the night of the premiere of the project in 1943. Yeah.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I'm ready for this. and now that we know how much Linklater still got it after Hitman, like yes.
Also, I just realised it's ironic that his current film that's coming out is practically set over the course of 1 or 2 days, and then his next project is going to take 16 years to make.
Well, that's kind of what was great about Boyhood was that he was able to do that whole thing, but it never slowed him down because it was
No.
such little intervals.
Uh, we also have out of competition. We've got Justin Kurzet. Well, at least he's directing the Narrow Road to the Deep North miniseries that is getting a BBC broadcast over here, but internationally, I think it's either Sony or Amazon, depending where you are in the world. But we got Kieran Hines and the questionable Jacob Elordi. Do we like him now? Do we not like him? We'll find out.
I mean, regardless, I'm ready for Del Toro's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Wherever we are on him, but
Hell, we
yeah,
just got confirmation apparently that Toxic Avenger might actually be getting a theatre release this year.
finally.
Yeah. Somebody finally decided to push a button on it. Yeah, so
I
Mickey
guess somebody.
17's there as well. Also, randomly, I guess because it hasn't opened in Berlin yet, they're doing a screening of A Complete Unknown. Which is interesting timing. And the opening film is German language film from Tom Tykwer called The Light. Whether that will show up, as a international feature sort of thing.
What's the last thing Tom Tykwer did?
Ooh.
Surely he's done something since Cloud Atlas. For some reason, that's where my mind stopped. What was that?
Hologram for the King was his last thing that he. The irony is, Hologram for the King was the last thing that he did, and then he did the score for Matrix Resurrections, and now he's done The Light. So it's kind of.
Oh, that's right. He did my favorite Bond movie.
Oh, The International.
Yes.
Yeah. That's Hologram for the King was not great. Also, maybe one of the worst vomit scenes I've ever seen. Not a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't see.
I love him otherwise, though. He's kind of a genius.
The only other thing of note, mainly because it's actually showing tonight and tomorrow to air in time of Holocaust Memorial thing, but of course this year's the 40th anniversary of Shoah. The 8-hour documentary about the Holocaust and everything. Which is getting its stuff done. I'll quickly I'll go through some of Josie's stuff in chat as well before you get to Josie's stuff that got sent through, I'm guessing.
Yes.
I'm fully convinced that Lynch and Rossellini were each other's ones that got away. But when Rossellini, when she passes at some point in the future, her and Lynch will finally be united together.
The image that just put in my head is very Lynchian in itself.
Oh, Josie, along with Bridget Lund Page and Justice Smith Rice over TV Globe for Best Pairings, brings up Adria, Jonah, and Glenn Powell in Hitman as well.
Yes, for sure.
Josie also says, I saw a funny photo of Butthead in the Criterion closet. Can we use that Criterion Pics in the Closet video? I'm trying to think of like the crazy wacky films. They probably go with the original Godzilla, just because it's like destruction, yeah.
I want Beavis and Butthead in the Criterion Closet, but picking like really like artistic cerebral movies, and they talk about them and it's played totally straight. That's what I would want to say. It's like, is it like it turns out Beavis is a Guy Madden fan? That's what I want.
Federico Fellini, yeah.
They start fighting over the box sets.
Because it's related, I'll mention this with Bry as well. I'm going to say this and I cannot say it further. Bugoni is going to be the bane of my existence, don't ask. Which Josie can't wait for. My only reservations over that is it is a remake of another film. Sometimes it goes alright, like, you know, Speak No Evil. I guess it depends how crazy... Considering the original South Korean one is crazy in itself, I'm trying to work out how the Orgos is going to go. That isn't crazy. This is crazy. To be fair, the fact the whole plot is two men kidnap a CEO thinking that she's an alien. And yet we only have one man so far listed as being in this movie. Because the only cast that they've revealed is Clemens as one of the two men, I'm guessing, Alicia Silverstone as his mother, and Emma Stone as the CEO. We don't know anybody else. So if it turns out there's a big name and like nobody saw him filming it, that'll be interesting. Yeah, but
I was gonna say Shirley Willem, but I suppose if we've heard from them, we'd probably have heard by now if Willem wasn't.
And Josie also mentions, by the way, PTA's new movie supposedly is 3 hours and is having a test screening in the next week or two. So I guess I can hopefully enjoy the hell out of that within the next 13 months, depending when they want to release it in the UK.
When I think of PTA and test screenings, I think of the one, maybe it's an urban legend, maybe it's real, I don't know. Did anybody else hear the story about when they did test screenings for either Boogie Nights or Magnolia, and he took the negative comment cards and he ate them?
I buy that. I completely buy that.
Considering so maybe it was early him, a la Hard 8 times, that sounds about right. To be fair,
he was very manic in the 90s, we'll say.
So yeah, if you want to go through the email through questions.
Yeah, just real quick, don't ever write Paul Thomas Anderson eats cards on Google because you're not gonna like what you see.
Do I even want to know?
It's not as bad as you think. Brian says, but then again, I don't know if Ari Aster is going to have Yorgos going to go through some of his shenanigans like in his movies because he is a producer. All right. Josie says, happy birthday to Gina Davis, Michael Wincott, and the late Paul Schofield.
Wincott's very underrated.
This is an interesting question that can go several directions. Are there any bowling alleys in your area?
Yeah.
2 decades ago. Although,
Really?
interestingly, apparently, planning permission has put in for one to possibly be showing up if it gets approval and everything.
Random.
Which, considering how that area of the shopping centre is near dead, otherwise, it probably needs some invigorating.
Mm.
I love bowling, like a lot, and I do it a lot more. But it's not easy to really swing. It can be a tad bit expensive. I have bowling that is at a hotel down the road, which is useful. I have bowling in Disney Springs at Splitsville, which is basically like a bowling alley and a restaurant mixed together, which is phenomenal. I love the food there, and I love to bowl there, and it's right next to the AMC, so it's like if I want to kill an hour for under $25, I just go bowl, and then I go to the movie.
The thing that's more interesting for me is there are a few places in the city that's, you know, a half an hour or so drive away, which have like the arcade. Because to be honest, that's why a lot of the people went to the bowling alley, just to go to the arcades, to go in the arcade machines and things like that. So
Same.
Ours actually just has. Oh, and I don't think you know this. Our bowling alley, when you first walk in,
Mm-hmm.
the entire half of that section now, they took the lanes out, and that's an arcade now. That whole entire first half of that first section.
That's crazy.
And I'll also say that back in the day, my mom was a league bowler, so
Yep.
I basically partially grew up in that bowling alley.
Yeah, my mom was too, actually.
So like that ambiance and like the noise is like really like that's like ASMR to me. And it's like kind of comforting. That's probably why I got into watching professional bowling as much as I do
And
or have, but
who do you think
yeah.
you are? I am.
Yeah.
and on top of that, it was playing NBA Jam. It was eating Munchos and either Milky Way or Three Musketeers with an ice cold Pepsi from the snack bar, occasionally French fries, and then watching my mom bowl. I spent a lot of time in that bowling alley growing up. Both of them, actually, the one that was closer to me and the one that was that's closer to you.
And fun fact, because Soderbergh shot Bubble around here,
Yep.
that bowling alley is where the rap party was.
That is correct.
And they did they've done a couple of professional events there as well.
Yeah, I love
alleys.
I recommend them. AJ, this
it was really weird when they had like a televised professional event there, because the way it was set up, it was unrecognizable. It was really weird.
So, AJ, if you were to design a David Lynch calendar, what pictures would you have for each month?
It'd be really convenient if he had 12 movies. Let me look at his filmography again. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're close. I hope I don't take too much time trying to think of this.
I mean, you could always make December the Fableman shot if you wanted to.
Yeah. It was like I was trying to think of if I took one shot from each movie.
Blue Velvet would be February, and
well, yeah. I'm looking at the filmography. I suppose you could also take Twin Peaks' show into account as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, Eraserhead, you'd have to get. I mean, obviously the image everybody remembers is just like that one image of Jack Nance with the background. I'd want to maybe get more creative than that. I don't think we don't want to be too startling. We don't want to make it the baby or anything. It'd probably be just an image like that, just that image of Jack Nance that's always the poster. Oh my god, this is more difficult than I thought it would be. Maybe one of the Wizard of Oz shots for Wild at Heart. Oh god. Any other Lynch fans want to help me out here? It's pressure. It's like all I'm hearing in my head is pressure. I can't even think.
If it's a sort of if it's a 13-month calendar, I want the January one to be his. It's Friday once again on bloody social media and whatever. That sort of thing.
I said I wouldn't want it to be any of the startling images. Like, you don't want the guy behind Winkies or the scary Laura Dern face from Inland Empire. You don't want that. Yeah, all I'm imagining is the posters. My mind's making it too simple. I want to go beyond.
I just feel as a nod to both men considering their birthdays, I'm pretty sure there's a scene in, I don't know if it's series 1 or 2, I can't remember, or even if it's deleted, the one with Bowie being with Lynch in, I think, the investigation rooms or whatever. I can't remember.
Bowie's in Firewalk with Me. Was he in the series?
I can't remember. It was.
Oh wait, I think he was in the. Was he in the Missing Pieces thing? Maybe.
It might have been. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to remember. Like, if he was in it, he was like barely.
Yeah, because his only scene in Firewalk with Me is the. Nobody's going to talk about Judy. We're not going to talk about Judy at all.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had another thing in the Missing Pieces thing. I think
he does show up in Twin Peaks: The Return, of sorts.
Let me know when you need me to move forward.
Yeah, hopefully I can come back to this one and be more creative.
So, and I know this because of Instagram. Josie watched A Different Man today.
Nice.
Yeah, the training video at the beginning made me think that Aaron Schimberg could make a movie about the making of a harassment training video. If they're doing that, Josie, I would like it to be those two guys that sing at all the HR meetings that I see on Facebook all the time. Yes. Fun fact, the picture of Edward and his mother on Edward's apartment walls and actually take a shot, an actual picture of Sebastian Stan and his mom.
That makes sense.
Edward's typewriter is an Olivetti Valentine and an Ettore Satas design introduced in 1969. The Valentine is in the permanent collections of several museums, including MoMA and the Smithsonian. It's always interesting in movies when people have younger photos or family photos hung up, and it makes you wonder if it's actually them or not.
I was just about to say that with the Stan trivia.
And completely independent from the commentary on A Different Man. In A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg's character's son is his actual son.
I wondered.
Yeah. Favorite scene in a movie where a door is completely knocked down.
I can think of several where a door's kicked open, but we're talking off the hinges down.
I don't think I'm going to be able to figure this one out. I guess I could always go with the Flintstones. Technically speaking, that counts.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is knocked down every time. I'm not wrong.
I mean, isn't it usually like raid scenes or something? I'm trying to think of even like contexts of when it happens.
I'm seeing a few that end up popping up. Pineapple Express is coming to mind.
Like I'm thinking of like kind of horrific things like the doors in the opening scene of Thanksgiving when they crush the security guard.
Oh yeah. All right. Thoughts on the Majestic from 2001?
I feel like I remember. Well, there's our anecdote.
Hey. Yes.
I don't remember much about. I remember the scene where Martin Landau has a heart attack because I think just shortly before that I had learned the whole left arm thing in regards to heart attacks. And I was like, oh, I've never seen that detail in a movie before. I think it's interesting that it's a Darabont movie because he has not made many movies. It's interesting that that's one of them. I remember when it came out and it was weird. It was that weird phase where Carrie was starting to get like we were post Truman Show and Man on the Moon. But then it was like, is Carrie going to try to do this regularly or what? And then it kind of didn't make an impact.
No. Other than our theater, it did. Because it literally was the final destination of its time, because it was so cursed and so many things that happened surrounding the Majestic at my local theater. Like, it literally almost killed someone. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. It's not a business.
I was gonna say, do you want to tell? Do you want to tell the?
If I remember correctly, there was someone watching the movie and they had to stop the movie because had to stop the movie because of there's this guy just like if I remember correctly, just started like he wasn't breathing, and I remember there was people in that theater that were butthurt that their movie got shut off.
Of course.
I remember that it brain wrapped at least 7 times. And in terms of it's funny, we talk about this all the time. Brain wrap is something was really interesting and was always entertaining that back in the day, that when we used to do reel to reel, when something was that went through that didn't go through like it was supposed to, it would do something that was actually technically called a brain wrap, but it was referred to in Fight Club as a cigarette burn, which I've heard both, but I've always known it as a brain wrap. And brain wrap basically meant that something got wrapped around the literal brain of the projector, and it caused a fire, like literally an actual fire. Hence why they call it the cigarette burn. Yeah, there was a lot of problems with that movie, and it was like when it left, everybody rejoiced because there was no more problems.
Not the first time our theaters tried to kill somebody. Wasn't that was it Still Alice, where a panel fell off the ceiling?
Yes. One of the speaker heads fell off at one point too.
I'm always I try not to sit close to the walls because I'm always paranoid those fucking speakers are going to come down.
If they're still the same ones we had from back when I started there, its time is limited, good sir.
Well, you've made me even more paranoid about that than I already was. So I'm pretty sure. I don't. They look the same. I don't know if they're the same at all.
I started with that company 24 years ago.
Well, I did already tell you that I'm pretty sure Dune 2 blew them out, and we never changed them. And I think it was Theater 10. I think Dune blew out the speakers, and they just never changed them.
Always reminded me of the fact that I was so beloved by my management team that I would be dragged out of a theater when I was watching a movie to fix problems on the regular. I believe the term that I always I always heard was, "You on my clock, you on my clock," and I'm like, "No, I'm kind of in the middle." You on my clock? I'm like,
I still think the best thing to happen, and it made this movie so much more theatrical than it was when the curtains didn't open all the way for Jupiter Ascending. So we were watching like a fraction of Jupiter Ascending through the curtains, and so you were called up there to take care of it.
Yes.
And it was just as we got this wide shot of space and the title came up that the curtains opened. It was like it was supposed to be that way.
I think the best thing was he was like, "You on my clock?" I was like, "Dude, I'm in Disney World right now." Did you forget? Oh yeah. God dang it.
I remember I can't remember what it was. For some technical reason, we were watching Jamie Foxx's movie Sleepless.
Right.
And for this first 10 minutes, all the lights were on. I can't remember why that was.
Hated that kind of stuff. This stuff still drives me insane to this day. If you were ever a projectionist in one way, shape, or form, and you see how people put movies together now in the digital format, which is how I was taught, it just boggles my mind how these people still have jobs. Because it does not take much to read a freaking trailer report.
It wasn't too bad, but when I saw Gladiator 2, I think it was really recent. There was one light that didn't dim or go out. Like all the others did, but then there was like one in the middle and it was shining down on this one person.
I've seen that before.
But it didn't really register. But it was like for like the first 25 minutes of the movie, it was like it's kind of well lit in here. This feels like it's not normal. Like I feel like I can see and hear a little more than usual. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't like fade out or dim out or anything. The light just went out completely suddenly. And the person it was shining down on got jump scared by it.
Oh my God, it's dark now. Oh no. That's what we talk about when we talk about the Majestic.
Yeah. I was trying to remember where we started.
AJ, what's your favorite episode of The Fresh Prince?
It's called All Guts, No Glory. It's the one where Will is in the philosophy class and doesn't take it seriously and then wishes he had. That guy that plays the teacher is incredible.
Nice.
Terry Kaiser, who plays Bernie in Weekend at Bernie's, is in that episode as well.
Excellent.
He's like the admissions guy. I don't know. I'm not even sure what it is. I've just always really loved that episode. I don't know if it's like the discussions in it or what, and it's very funny, as they all are, but there's a ton though. I love the serious episodes also. But yeah, All Guts No Glory was the one that always kind of stood out to me. It's like I always loved when that one came on.
It's like asking me what my favorite episode of Seinfeld is, and the weird answer I always give is the Jimmy.
Yeah, mine used to be the Jimmy, but it's jumped around for one. I'm not even sure which one.
That's the one I can still quote to this day. So it's well, and I can quote a lot of it anyway. But I mean, I actually record. There was a gimmick for a time that I would lose access to the internet. So my way around this was I would film audio of my favorite television series, and I would listen to that and drive my stepmom insane. Because technically speaking, I wasn't breaking any rules because I couldn't watch TV. So I just listened to the audio, and the Jimmy was one of those episodes. So I basically memorized that whole thing.
Which is funny because there's quite a few visual jokes in that episode.
Yeah, there really is. That like watching Super Dave's Vegas Spectacular with no like context, like the Robert Wagner stuff and everything with Penn Jillette. I mean, all those things are visual gags that I laugh hysterically at because I've seen them. But if you listen to it out of context, it's probably like, why is the studio audience laughing?
I'm trying to remember what some of the other story threads were in it, but I remember also loving everything about the episode where Kramer decides he's never getting out of the shower.
Yeah.
And he installs like the garbage disposal. It's
garbage disposal. Yeah.
I think my favorite bit of that whole episode is when he calls Putty. because everything that Patrick Warburton does in that moment is hysterical. Starting with the fact that when Kramer calls him and we cut to Putty, Putty's just sitting there doing literally nothing.
That's what David Putty does. Come on.
And then that exchange of Putty. Yeah, is David Putty there? This is Putty.
This is Putty.
It's Kramer. I know.
I love Patrick Warburton so much. I'm so glad he's back in Soarin' now, even though I hate the new version of Soarin'.
And he knows how to do the garbage disposal thing just verbally.
Oh my god, so good. The Velvet Fog? What the hell's a Velvet Fog? What's the difference between a dentist and a sadist? Newer magazines. Tim Watley. That is what I knew him as way before anything else.
The outtakes with Cranston are gold.
God. And I wasn't a mark for Malcolm in the Middle at all. So mine was Seinfeld all the time. And then I never watched Breaking Bad, so I can't really say anything.
Everybody sings its praises. I've still never watched Malcolm in the Middle. I'd like to, from what I've heard, but I haven't.
Yeah, I feel like it's something I could get into if I could watch it. It's like if I went back and watched Third Rock from the beginning. I remember watching it constantly, but I don't think I ever watched every episode.
It's gold, and Third Rock's also another one of those shows that never like went off. Like it was solid until it ended.
I mean, I'm literally in it, and I've always been a big mark for Larissa Olnick anyway, because I was a big Alex Mack fan.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of, and we're getting away from this a little bit, but that's how things work. It's just like a McFoley promo. The thing is, you go round and round and eventually end up where we started. And that's exactly what we're going to do in a few minutes. Who's your personal butler, Jeffrey or Alfred?
I'd say Alfred. Jeffrey's a little... I keep wanting to say the word sassy. I don't know. I feel like Jeffrey will take shots at you and not care. And Alfred's basically like another parent.
Yeah, I mean, I also like Mr. Belvedere too. To be topical for the time being right now. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, of course, won the first ever Grammy for Best Rap Performance in 1988 for Parents Just Won't Understand. Yes.
Quite a few jokes about that in the show, too.
Makes sense. Jeff, take a shot. Jeffrey's shoot name, of course, is Joseph Marcel. Mm-hmm. He was actually on the board of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London.
I have heard not so flattering stories about him from conventions.
Oh boy.
He's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some interesting stories about conventions in general because of the life that I listen to on the regular basis now. He was Leonardo in Much Ado About Nothing in 2011.
Oh wow.
And then this bleeds into just the last question before we get to the game and triviaski.com. And of course, we're going to go with before we go into the game, we're going to go into the traditional game, which is Brian's game, and then we're going to end on Josie's game.com.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, AJ, is what's your favorite scene in a movie or TV show with a wheelbarrow?
Give me a second to think of any scene.
That's fair. Little Rascals.
Is there a wheelbarrow in the Little Rascals? I don't even remember one.
I'm sure they're building some sort of treehouse at some point.
You would think the treehouse is already built. It already exists. They're building the go-kart, if that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that would make sense. Wheelbarrows in movie. This is where we live, good sir.
I think there's a scene in the Mr. Mercedes series where they get rid of a body with one. For some reason, that's the only thing I can think of.
All right. You are not helpful, Wikipedia. Thank you. I almost want to say jackass, but weirdly enough, that's one of the things I don't believe they ever used.
So surely somebody got pushed in one at some
I
point.
would think so. That seems like custom made for like Brandon
Was
or
there not
Dave
a
Engel. Aaron
Was there not a
Lee.
Jackass bit where there were two people in wheelbarrows and they like
Racing?
they intentionally collided?
I mean, that sounds right.
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah, typing in wheelbarrow movies on bestsimilar.com, whatever this is, does not help one bit.
I've noted that site in general is not particularly helpful. I think I've been there.
All right, all right, I'm just gonna put out my my best Tom P talk and tap out here. So everyone's got to put over Josh Barnett. Now we've got some trivia from Josie's movies she saw recently. So I like the Ernest movies a lot. Talked about seeing Jim Varney in Nashville, Tennessee.
A certain section of Ernest movies, as they went, they kind of went off the rails there. I mean, for a series that started off the rails.
Yes.
I mean, we started with Ghost of Camp, right?
Yes.
That's the one where a guy is literally shooting at him and he's just he's just unwounded. That's where we started.
It is a PG-13 action movie without being either of the two.
I loved Ghost of Jail was always the one I watched like all the time.
Roll it in, because that's the trivia we're going with. A few extended and deleted scenes that were not featured in the original version, but some were made for TV versions. There was an extended scene with Ernest washing himself in a washing machine, and then he staggered as he stepped out. Ernest tried to sneak out of jail, but he was found by the searchlights. Then he was making shadow puppets. Ernest received a conjugal visit from a special lady friend of Nash.
I'd love to know how that went.
Quotemarks.com. An extended scene where Nash, as Ernest, was in Mr. Pendlesmythe's office negotiating the clerk job, and a deleted scene where Ernest was working as a clerk. Charlotte Sparrow was originally written to get together with Ernest at the end, but Jim Varney and the writers always wanted a love interest. Several times he mentioned a wife in the early commercials. That's true, actually. I remember that. Disney could not imagine Ernest being in a romantic relationship. No!
I'm with them on this.
The response Disney gave the writers was, and I quote, "He's smooth down there." Writers were crushed when they found
like
out
a
that
fucking
Ernest
Ken doll. There's just nothing.
I'm getting to that.
Wait, does that mean I now want to have fucking Reg Varney doing I'm Just Ken on AI something or whatever?
I don't know who the hell Reg Varney is, but let's go. Anyway, Ernest has no genitalia. They felt like it was finding out there's no Santa Claus. Jesus.
Well, he literally did a movie with fucking Santa Claus, so I don't. It's just null and void.
The first Ernest film to introduce Rimshot the dog, played by Barkley, he appears in the next film, Ernest Scared Stupid. It was his last Ernest film. Varney was actually initially jealous of Barkley when he first got on set because Barkley was so good at acting. Varney was afraid of being upstaged. It took a while before Varney was able to relax around him.
Actors are weird.
Before Ernest is put in the electric chair, he's asked if he wants a blindfold or a cigarette. Ernest responds with, "I'm afraid of the dark, and cigarettes will kill you."
Didn't he die of lung cancer?
And he died of lung cancer, yeah. from a
His
lifetime.
fault.
The production designer Chris August created a studio inside a 100,000 square foot former manufacturing plant in Nashville, which he built the Howard County Bank and Trust, 2 3-story jail cell tiers, take a shot, an electrocution room, Ernest house, and various hallways. 3 days of filming took place at Tennessee State Penitentiary, which was also used to film The Green Mile.
Oh, wow. Hey, we came full circle to Darabont already. That's great.
And when I saw Jim Varney, it was also in Nashville, and it was when he was promoting the Beverly Hillbillies.
So early 90s, 93.
Yep. Slam dunk Ernest trivia.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord. When Ernest and his team are playing against others, check out the names. Kick-a-Key Fish. That's the name of the camp when Ernest goes to camp. Tulip Brothers Hardware was Bobby and Tommy's last name, and Ernest Scared Stupid. Tranter Dairy, which was the troll in Ernest Scared Stupid, who was defeated by milk. Last Touchstone home video Ernest movie. The Ernest crew had some difficulties with Disney. They kind of got patched up. Disney offered home video distribution. The only Ernest movie does not start with the word Ernest.
That's true. You know how I know that's true? Because I alphabetize my DVDs.
You do.
And it's Slam Dunk Ernest is somewhere over there, while the rest are up there.
Good Lord. Chuck and Bobby are originally featured as spies who were after Ernest and the Magic Shoes. Auntie Nelda also was in the original script as an actual person, but not Ernest in disguise. She would have been in the stands watching the game, then accidentally gets shot in the neck by Bobby with a tranquilizer dart, unharmed thanks to her neck brace.
I'm assuming it's brought up that we actually just lost Bobby recently.
It is not.
Oh. This was like in the last maybe couple of weeks or so.
Yeah. During the dinner scene at one point, Ernest says he's never been in a restaurant without a drive-through window. And Ernest goes to jail. He goes out with a friend in a fancy restaurant.
So we're calling him out.
Yeah. Mythical shoes shown in the movie are actually Air Jordans that were modified later for a short time. They were made available at $49.95 at Kmart. Plastic braces glowed in the dark. Squeeze button when squeezed would release air inside your shoes to keep them feeling fresh. Apparently they didn't sell that many, and the movie didn't do very well. Side note, Owen, would you program a Sing Sing and Ernest Goes to Jail double feature? Yes, I would. And I would throw jury duty into there as well, just for fun.
Oh my God.
So Josie continues to watch the Carry On series. Carry On, my wayward librarian. Literally. Carry On Sergeant. The film had not been conceived as the start of a movie series. Only after the film's surprising success did the producer Peter Rogers and the director Gerald Thomas set about planning a future project. After reusing the Carry On prefix and some cast members in their next project, Carry On Nurse, in '59, and having success with that film, it evolved. At the earliest points of production, the film was intended to be a drama. And then we move on to Nurse, the Carry On debut of Joan Sims, the longest-serving female member of the Carry On team, in 24 of the series from 1959. Kenneth Williams became me, kept falling asleep, due to the combination of warm studio lights and acting on a bed. When Gerald Thomas would wake him up, Kenny would swear blind he wasn't asleep, like me. So the next time it happened, Thomas put a sign around his neck, "Don't dare try," and took a photograph. When Kenny tried to wriggle his way out of it again with protestations of not being asleep, Gerald showed him the photograph. Apparently, the language is very colorful. Yes, this is all correct. If you mess with me while I'm sleeping, I will curse at you. Some of the film's literal English language translations of its foreign language titles were 40 Degrees of Love, 41 Degrees of Love, Isn't It Wonderful, Doctor, Nurse Does All the Work, and Laughing Gas and Beautiful Girls. Belgium, South America, Germany, Denmark, Greece, and Finland, respectively. The majority of the saucy hijinks and medical madness came from true stories told to Norman Udis by his wife, who was also a nurse. Carry on, teacher. During the filming, Charles Hawtrey's mother would also often visit the set. While enjoying a cigarette, she accidentally dropped lit ash from the cigarette into her handbag. Joan Sims was the first to spot the incident, yelled, "Charlie, Charlie, your mother's bag is on fire." So Hawtrey poured his cup of tea into the bag, snapped it shut, and carried on. A song on Morrissey's first album entitled Late Night, Maudlin Street, is named after the school in the film. Sims based Miss Alcock's walk, described by her in her autobiography, as a sort of half run, half trot. I feel sometimes when I'm run. On the walk of Miss Goodwin, her gym mistress, when she was at school. Gym mistress, that's not like she have to pay for less. Anyway, practical joke that was played on Kenneth Connor by Kenneth Williams and camera operator Alan Hume in the scene where he sniffs a glass jar and makes a face. They released the stink bomb. So he was disgusted for shoot. Connor got Williams back, however, when he put real itching powder in Williams' costume during the itching powder scene. And all of this made up for what would happen in Police Academy years later. Anyway, we got Brian's game.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like some straight-to-video 90s thriller title. Brian's game.
This is the sequel to Peter's game. Or Peter's Friends, I should say.
Close to Molly's game.
So yeah, this is cinematography of the 1990s. Basically, we're going through the list of what won and what didn't, and where we would make changes. So, starting off with 1990, do we stick with Dances with Wolves, or twist with Avalon, Dick Tracy, Godfather Part 3, or Henry and June?
Dick Tracy.
Yeah. Once again, I'm trying not to just go with my favorite movie of the group, because, I mean, you know, it's hard to ignore what Dances with Wolves looks like.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I love everything about Dick Tracy, especially technically.
Yes.
I'll probably stick with Dances and Wolves, at least in terms of cinematography, because I feel some of the Dick Tracy stuff is also helped by sort of more set design stuff for some of the stuff there. But for 91, we had JFK winning over Bugsy, Prince of Tides, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and Thelma and Louise. Ooh.
That's interesting group.
That's a great lineup, too. I think I'm going to stick with JFK.
Yeah, JFK is interesting because of the way it, like... Well, first of all, I will admit that I still, to this day, don't... It's same thing for Natural Born Killers, too. I don't completely know what Stone is doing when he goes from color to black and white, and if it has any significance at all.
Only he knows.
Yeah, there's just something about how the look and feel of JFK changes from when we're in like the investigative aspect, or when it's like more home life, and then when we're on like the seedy side of it and we're getting into the really nitty gritty of what's potentially going on, and the way that changes and feel like visually is really interesting, and something I imagine is really not particularly easy to pull off, especially when you're in so many different, going back and forth between so many different places and feelings and tones and stuff like that. So yeah, Thelma and Louise is so well shot too, though.
Yeah.
As is T2.
It's the one on that list I don't have any experience with.
Yeah, I'd probably go with JFK because of how many like different things are going on there in this department.
Yeah. If I had to switch it out, I'd probably go with Thelma and Louise, but I'd stick with JFK as well, I'd say.
Okay.
But I mean, not to mention Bugsy looks really good too.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really like sleek.
Then an interesting one. A River Runs Through It won in 92. Beating out Howard's End, The Lover, Hoffa, and Unforgiven.
Unforgiven.
It's really hard to not say Unforgiven, but I've always thought A River Runs Through It was such an inspired choice. I've always loved that win. I may have to stick with it based on that, but it's also really hard to not say Unforgiven.
Yeah. I probably edge it to Unforgiven, but yeah, I sort of agree in that, River Runs Through It was a nice little sort of recognition. This one I feel is somewhat easy. 93 Schindler's List beating out Farewell My Concubine, The Fugitive, The Piano, and Searching for Bobby Fischer. I mean, not to crap on the others, but I feel it's a two-horse race between Schindler's and Piano.
I'm going to go
stand out to me, at least.
Fugitive's an odd choice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great movie, but for this category, that's
Did they choose it just for the damn scene?
I'm with you on The Piano being the other choice. But it is kind of hard to not say Schindler's.
Yeah, I'd stick with Schindler's List because, like, some of those. I feel some of those barren shots is sort of akin to, I guess, kind of what we got with maybe Deakins in 1917. Where it's just looking at the sort of the remnants of a war-trodden area, sort of thing.
Yeah, and a lot of the panning shots too of like the crowds come to mind. Yeah.
Maybe another inspired choice or not. Wyatt Earp, Three Colors Red, Shawshank Redemption, and Forrest Gump all lost out in '94 to Legends of the Fall.
Cinematography really liked Brad Pitt there.
Yeah.
I've seen it a billion times, and I feel like it's very deserving of anything it gets. So I'm gonna have to go with Forrest Gump here.
The Three Colors trilogy, honestly, was something I really wished I loved more than I did. But it's another one that's kind of hard to ignore, that it at least looks very good. So I guess I can begrudgingly go with Red.
I feel ironic that I change history, as if I say Shawshank Redemption, that means at his first attempt, Roger Deakins, and we never get the streak. I'd probably give it to Forrest Gump, though. Some of those shots by Burgess are really nice. Apparently, they really like John Toll, though, because the following year he won for Braveheart, beating out Batman Forever, A Little Princess, Sense and Sensibility, and Shanghai Triad. They went with foreign films.
And again, we questioned the Tommy Lee Jones movie.
I like the look of Batman Forever a lot, actually.
It's a very inspired nomination.
Yeah.
I guess the easiest thing is to stick with Braveheart, but people will hate on the Batman Forever nomination, but I think it's a very interesting choice to throw into the mix. Especially the stuff that, like, Nigma's final layer inside is really, I don't even know how you describe that, but it's like dark, but in a way that feels appropriate and not just in like a muddy sort of way.
I'd probably go with Sense and Sensibility, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's got the sort of nice sort of. I mean, it's basically just because I want something with a decent color palette. Because I feel Braveheart isn't always vivid. Because obviously, you get to the war bits, it gets sort of very sort of smoky and things like that, which I guess has some good effects as well. But I feel that stood out.
This is probably where I should mention I actually have not seen Shanghai Triad, so that's a reason I can't bring it into contention.
Yeah. I wasn't even aware of it either, which is surprising because I've seen Hero and House of Flying Daggers and like some of Zhang Yimou's more recent stuff. I still think Flowers of War is kind of underrated, which I guess is lucky because that's cheap very often on various things. Um, 96. English Patient beating out Evita, Fargo, Fly Away Home, and Michael Collins.
Fargo.
I really like that Fly Away Home nomination.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here thinking about Fargo. Because there's quite a bit of Fargo that's in like enclosed spaces and like homes and offices that just kind of feel pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I'd probably stick with English Patient myself. Because it's really hard with like Fargo. I don't, it's sort of like sometimes it's when you sort of see those photos and it's like, well, it's just because it's nature. That's why the photo's good, not the art of actually getting it, sort of thing. So,
Well, here's the thing I remember about The English Patient is the first time I saw it, I still had like it was long enough ago that it was one of like the older TVs, like before flat screens.
oh, the old CRT.
And so like everything reflected off of those.
Yeah.
So there was a particular shot that I was mesmerized by only because it was like Fines coming down like a sand hill and it's just blue sky there, but my ceiling light reflected perfectly to make it look like the sun was right next to him. So it's
Nice.
like I'm thinking about a shot that technically doesn't exist and that only existed in that one lined up moment. But yeah, that or Evita is a movie I've actually praised a number of times during these live videos. I would go with that also. Yeah, I love Fargo so much, but I'm not entirely sure I'd say the cinematography is a standout of it. I mean, there's certainly a few scenes, but yeah. And that's not to say that you can't do something in confined spaces. Obviously, you certainly can, but with that movie in particular, I know it's just only certain moments. So I'd probably say Evita, or I'd default to The English Patient.
For 97. Titanic beating out Armistead, Kundun, LA Confidential, and The Wings of the Dove. Ooh.
I mean, I'll stick with Titanic, especially. I mean, not just because Titanic's like actually a personal favorite of mine as a movie and as a whole. But something about LA Confidential's night scenes, especially
Yeah.
when they're like in the city, look really good.
I was gonna say it's between those two for me, but I probably stick with Titanic, even if it's just sort of the spectacle of like when you first go into the either it's the ballroom, but the staircase, and you just see that just really well put together.
The Scorsese movie, I have such a vague memory of that movie. I don't really. The poster I remember more vividly than the movie.
Yeah. To be fair, the poster also felt like, oh, we're doing another version of The Last Emperor, I see.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like.
I'd say this is another inspired year in '98. Saving Private Ryan, beating out A Civil Action, Elizabeth, Shakespeare in Love, and Thin Red Line. That's a really good list.
The old Ryan Thin Red Line debate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's got to be Private Ryan, but the Thin Red Line looks really great too. That's a whole versus I've done. If you want to go down that route, that video is just on here. I would, in this particular case, I'd probably just barely go the Private Ryan route.
I do like the fact it's war versus war and Tudors versus Tudors, and then there's a civil action just hanging out there.
I mean, that's an inspired choice. I do love that one of the scenes I think of when you think of a civil action cinematography is when we flash back to what happened with the fire and all that. And one of those kids that started the whole thing is Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I just happened to notice that the last time I watched it.
And to think, as well, it sort of comes from the same cinematographer, Civil Action, that gave us Butch Cassidy and Marathon Man from back in the day. And, segue, American Beauty, winning in '99 over End of the Affair, The Insider, Sleepy Hollow, and Snow Falling on Cedars.
Oh, damn it. I was just about to go on a whole thing about how and why American Beauty really deserves it. But I forgot Sleepy Hollow was in here.
Yeah.
I gotta go Sleepy Hollow on this. But I love how like unique and specific American Beauty looks as a whole. Like you see any shot from that movie, you immediately know it's American Beauty. Any shot. But God, Sleepy Hollow is a work of art.
I kind of just want to say The Insider because I want more people to see The Insider. If we're talking underrated Michael Mann stuff, The Insider is underrated Michael Mann stuff. Sandwiched in between, Heat and Alley and Collateral and all that. Like,
which is really funny because I want to say either Mann or Russell Crowe said that The Insider is their favorite movie they've done. I think one of them said it.
in unrelated stuff, for some reason we're getting a 4K remaster of Black Hat for some reason.
Huh.
So yeah, that's the cinematography stuff. Bry's now asking for a decade for costume design after having done the 80s and the 2000s.
Do we
Doing my
want to?
research because it gets complicated anyway for the early stuff, so it would be good to get some of it out the way. I want to say everything up to the 50s because the category started in 48. And to be fair, there's only sort of of course was also in the time of black and white and color where it split them up a bit. I'd like to get like some of the earlier stuff, so then we can then jump back to sort of the newer stuff where we've got more of a frame of things. Because like Especially those first ones in the 40s. There's 2 films. It's like one won and the other was like, thanks for coming. It's only sort of in the I want to say 51 that they expanded it actually to 5. And then of course there was those random 2 years in the 50s where they merged the categories together and then they gave up on the merging. It's just like, nah, go back to black and white and color.
The only problem with costume design is it's like more often than not it's going to be period movies, and for me those always just blend together.
Yeah, I feel looking at the list there isn't as many period things I can see like winning over some of the things, because obviously you've got a lot of your sort of epics and things like that, your Ben-Hurs and your Cleopatras. I mean, okay, Cleopatra is 60s, but those sort of things. But Roman Holiday wasn't well, at the time it was contemporary, so there is an actual mix. It's not just period stuff. Although there is, wow, color in 56 will be interesting because that's period, not period, period. And looking at
I feel like I'm probably gonna give really boring answers for those, just as a warning.
Yeah. But I just wanted to get them out the way. I feel we haven't done enough early stuff, but then at the same time, I don't want to sort of go too early on some of the stuff and have us be too. I mean, I'm trying to look at some of these. I'm like, I have not seen these films, so some of them might be boring answers from me. I'm like, I'll just go with the one that won because they probably know this shit. So yeah, I think Bry will, costume design of the 50s with the addendum of the 2 from the 40s, so then we don't just have a one where it's like, here's 8 films, we've got to pick 4 of them. Otherwise that'd be a very short year. Additional stuff in chat. Spencer says, AJ's my inspiration to be well spoken and talented. You are a hero.
That's really nice to hear because I don't think I'm well spoken at all.
I'm taking a film class in college and they actually mentioned AJ's verses of Frailty and Fallen.
We need context on this, Spencer.
We need dates. We need name. This is weird.
All right.
Again, I don't even remember if that video is good or not.
All right. So whenever we do another QA show, somewhere down the line, that will be where we're going to go this direction. So Josie came up with this book adaptation to movie game, and it worked really well the last time. I think we had 10 movies last time. Might be less. I don't recall. Maybe between 8 and 10.
I think it might have been 10.
We got 12 today.
And we're finishing on this.
That is the go home, as it should be. All right. So we're reading the summaries. If you want to attach a studio, you can. If you want to talk about awards, you can. That's optional. But if you were ranking them, what would be your top 3? Woodpecker Wants a Waffle by Steve Breen. A adapted from Francis Galuppi from Last Stop in Yuma County.
Okay.
One day, Benny the Woodpecker awakens to the best tummy-rumbling smell ever and discovers it's something called waffles. He must taste them. He pecks on the door of the Waffle House, but he gets the boot. Tries to sneak in, but he gets swept away. Each time Benny tries, he just can't seem to get to those delicious waffles. The other forest animals laugh at him. Woodpeckers don't eat waffles, they say. But Benny has a brilliant plan. This will be done as a restaurant movie. The Bridge Home by Padma Venkatraman. Adapted by Payo Kapadia. Four determined homeless children make a life for themselves in Padma Venkatraman's stirring middle-grade debut. Life is harsh in Chennai's teeming streets, so when runaway sisters Viji and Ruku arrive, their prospects look grim. Very quickly, 11-year-old Viji discovers how vulnerable they are in this uncaring, dangerous world. But fortunately, the girls find shelter and friendship on an abandoned bridge with two homeless boys, Muthi and Arul. The group forms a family of sorts while making the living scavenging the city's trash heaps is the pits the kids find plenty to laugh about and take pride into. After all, they are now the bosses of themselves and no longer dependent on untrustworthy adults. But when illness strikes, Viji must decide whether to risk seeking help from strangers or to keep holding on to their fragile, hard-fought freedom. Josie, I specifically mentioned people, and you listened, and I appreciate that. But you also gave me a guaranteed top 3, so thank you for that. Little Bat in Night School by Brian Lyde, adapted by Kevin Smith. Little Bat can't wait for his first night of school. He's excited about everything, his new school supplies, learning amazing things, and making new friends. But when he finally arrives, his world turns upside down. Any little bat who's tried something new or gone somewhere they've never been before knows that the first times can be scary. With the help of Little Bat and his adorable classmates, readers will see that spreading your wings is easy when you listen, act with kindness, and take a chance on new friends. Jason Lee needs to work again, please. Lentil by Robert McCloskey, adapted by Jeff Nichols. Young Lentil wants to learn to sing, but no matter how hard he tries, he can't sing on key. He can't even pucker his lips to whistle. If you know, you know. So Lentil learns to play harmonica instead and beautifully carries his tune through the winding streets of Alto, Ohio. Lentil masters his craft just as the beloved Colonel Carter returns to town and the Alto residents decide to plan a special celebration. But old Sneap, the grouchiest man in town, doesn't want anyone celebrating Colonel Carter's homecoming. When old Sneap stops the welcoming parade in its tracks, Lentil's music turns out to be just what Alto needs. Shooting the Moon by Francis O'Rourke, Dowell, adapted by Sarah Polley. Speaking of women are talking. When 12-year-old Jamie Dexter's brother joins the army and sent to Vietnam, Jamie is plumb thrilled. Can't wait to get letters from the front lines describing the excitement of real-life combat, sounds of helicopters, smell of gunpowder, exhilaration of being right in the thick of it. After all, they both dreamed of following in the footsteps of their father, the colonel. But TJ's first letter isn't a letter at all. It's a roll of underdeveloped film. The first of many. What Jamie sees when she develops TJ's photographs reveals a whole new side of the war. Slowly, the shine begins to fade off Army life and the colonel. How can someone she's worshipped her entire life be just as helpless to save her brother as she is? From the author of Edgar Award-winning Dovey Coe comes a novel both timely and timeless about sacrifices we make for what we believe and the people we love. Elemento P. Remember her talking about this a while back? By Mark Dunn, adapted by Rich Pepiat. Nope, don't know that one either. A girl happily living on the fictional island of Nollop off the coast of South Carolina. Nollop was named after Nevin Nollop, author of the immortal phrase containing all the letters of the alphabet. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now Ella finds herself acting to save her friends, family, and fellow citizens from the encroaching totalitarianism of the island's council, which has banned the use of certain letters of the alphabet as they fall from a memorial statue of Nevin Nollop. As the letters progressively drop from the statue, they also disappear from the novel. The View from Saturday by E.L. Konigsberg, adapted by Greg Quidar.
He's a Sing Sing guy, right?
Yes. From the Newbery Medal winning author of the beloved classic From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler comes 4 jewel-like short stories, one for each of the team members of an academic bowl team that ask questions and demonstrate surprising answers. How had Mrs. Olinsky chosen her 6th grade academic bowl team? Well, she had a number of answers, but were any of them true? How had she really chosen Noah and Nadia and Ethan and Julian? And why did they make such a good team? It was a surprise to a lot of people when Mrs. Olinsky's team won the 6th grade academic bowl contest at Epiphany Middle School. Take a shot. It was an even bigger surprise when they beat the 7th grade and the 8th grade, too. When they went on to greater victories, everyone began to ask, what happened? It happened at least partly because Noah had been the best man. I had to. I can't do work. Anyway, quite by accident, at the wedding of Ethan's grandmother and Nadia's grandfather. It happened because Nadia discovered that she could not let a lot of baby turtles die. It happened when Ethan could not let Julian, which is funny because Ethan Page's shoot name was Julian. Anyway, face disaster alone. And it happened because Julian valued something important in himself and saw in the other 3 something he also valued. Mrs. Olinsky returned to teaching after having been injured in an auto accident, found that her academic bowl team had become her answer to finding confidence and success. But what she didn't know, at least at first, her team knew more than she did to answer why they had been chosen. Speaking of the past, Angelina Ballerina, an adaptation of the series of children's books about the titular dancing mouse, Angelina Ballerina from Alice Rohrwacher. Josie, there's nothing else on this.
Who's adapting it?
Doesn't say.
Oh.
It sure does not say.
Didn't you say Alice Rohrwacher?
That would be correct then, yes. That's all it says. That's literally my description.
Yeah.
Just that. The 13 Clocks by James Thurber. Get ready. Adapted by Boz Lerman.
Oh.
The hands of all 13 clocks stand still in the gloomy castle on a lonely hill where a wicked duke lives with his niece, the beautiful Princess Sarah Linda. The duke fancies he has frozen time, for he is afraid that one day a prince may come and win away the hand of the princess, the only warm hand in the castle. To thwart the fate, he sits on an impossible task for Sarah Linda's suitors. When the bold Prince Zorn of Zorna arrives, disguised as a wandering minstrel, helped by the enigmatic Golix, the cold duke may have at last met his match. We go from that to one that I'm sure everybody on the panel is going to dig. The Garden of Abdul Ghazazi by Chris Van Allsburg, adapted by Robert Eggers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Sometimes that very thin line between illusion and reality is not as clearly defined as we would like it to be. It certainly wasn't the day that Alan Mitz stumbled into the Garden of Abdul Ghazazi, for in this bizarre and eerie place where strange topiary trees loomed, the eerie visage of Ghazazi cast a shadow. Even after Alan escapes, the spell of Ghazazi seems to penetrate into its everyday world. The very first picture book from the astonishing imagination of legendary Chris Van Allsburg explores both the real and surreal worlds with incredible deftness in this unusual tale. In doing so, he has created exquisite and beautiful images that will linger in the minds of readers long after they have left the enchanted garden of Abdul Ghazazi.
So you're telling me Robert Eggers is Pan's Labyrinth? Sign me the fuck up!
Wow, that's true. Oh boy. You guys might as well play a drinking game here. The Jolly Postman by Janet and Alan Alberg. Adapted by Wes Anderson.
Okay.
All right. Based on The Jolly Postman and the two sequels, A Jolly Christmas Postman and A Jolly Pocket Postman, this gorgeously illustrated full-color classic celebrates a time before email by depicting amusing correspondence between fairy tale and Mother Goose characters. Who would write to the Wicked Witch? Open this book, take out the letters, and discover what favorite characters would write to each other and reimagine best-loved tales together. What could possibly be in a letter from Goldilocks to the Three Bears? Jolly Christmas Postman, self-explanatory. The Jolly Pocket Postman, once more the Jolly Postman rides and flies and drinks. I don't need to say a word. It wins. There's no competition at all.
Was
Sorry,
that the last one?
Sorry, Kev. Sorry, Baz Luhrmann. There's no way in hell I could go against that. For many reasons.
As long as it's in the style of Fantastic Mr. Fox and I Love Dogs.
That's what the book looks like.
Yeah, to some extent. I'm also intrigued to see what Taika Waititi would do with that. Because I feel with some of his sort of visionary sort of stuff, at least going back to sort of, his earlier stuff before, I want to say Thor Ragnarok is sort of where the Jojo Rabbit and sort of everything started afterwards.
I would say Taika Waititi would be for the next one, potentially. Like, this is when we start getting, like, Christopher Guest and Quentin Tarantino, and there's a lot. Peter Berg is a really good one. I think that would be fun.
Was that the last of the lineup?
Yes.
I would say the Eggers first. Then probably the Sarah Pauli, and then the Lerman. Because obviously I love Wes Anderson, especially what he's been doing lately. But something more in line of like Isle of Dogs and stuff like that, I'm less passionate about.
I would say more like a Fantastic Mr. Fox if it has to go that route instead of Isle of Dogs.
I mean, the only reason I brought them up is, of course, they're the animated ones.
It doesn't have to be animated, though. It'd actually be like a Royal Tenenbaums or...
Every now and then, Fantastic Mr. Fox kind of has a dry spot.
Yeah.
Whereas most of Wes Anderson is just going and going and going.
I feel this would... I can't say anything. I'm too damn biased on this one, literally. Yeah. There's no way that can't win for me.
One of the earlier ones had enough of a plot that I was more interested in, rather than going on the name of the
director
doing the adaptation. So I think it was like the second one,
the Yokapadia one.
Yeah.
About the homeless children.
Yeah, so maybe not Capadia doing it, but just like the story, of the plot synopsis of it seems very, something that would be akin to something that a small indie filmmaker would probably try and do an adaptation of, even if it isn't, Capadia. So
sure.
Is that it?
And we wait the next show to be able to do that. Next QA show is up in the air. Don't know exactly when that's going to be. I know
this one almost didn't happen.
Well, yeah, I decided it was time to do one, and it made sense in the circumstance given the fact that we had to skip Sunday, so we just moved everything a day later. Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. here for me and AJ, and ours earlier in the UK, will all be official live videos. Whether they're live or not, we can assure you they will be filmed live. And I can also assure you, I'm not going anywhere on Thursday, so until I go to KFC at 4 o'clock. So I'm going to make sure that video gets up before I go anywhere. You're not going to have to wait 3 days again to get my reactions to Oscar nominations morning.
Yeah, my aim will be to live stream and whatever, as I usually do, get the frame of it in shot sort of thing. Obviously, then we'll have the deep dive later that evening.
Right after I eat my KFC, you are correct. 6 o'clock.
And then, in theory, that means we'll be away for about a week, just over. And then the week starting Monday the 3rd.
That's right.
Of February.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on Monday itself, or maybe Tuesday or whatever, is when we'll be doing our guild predictions.
Yeah.
And from that point, it's probably going to be at least 2 videos a week for the rest of the season, because one video will be reacting to an event, which I think the following week, what like last year, I think will be your preamble for the Super Bowl, if you're not interested in the Super Bowl, when we discuss the Critics' Choice from the previous Friday, because we won't be able to do it live. And then that week will be predictions for BAFTA. Then it will be BAFTA and Guild. Or Guild Boss minus SAG reactions.
Mm-hmm.
With Spirit predictions.
Yep.
And then it'll be, I guess that could be a triple header in that we do SAG, post-show, and or a separate post-show the following day for the Spirits. And then, because of the calendar, we'll have to do our Oscar full-on predictions that week as well for the following weekend. So, So as I say, pretty much at least 2 videos from us for that period. So, in theory, the Q&A is probably happening in or around March.
Yeah,
if we do one the night after the Oscars like we did 12 months ago.
Go back to bi-monthly QAs, and the movie club's coming back at some point in the near future as well, but more information is forthcoming about that. I'll try not to be so absent during the rest of the year when it comes to content. I got a lot of stuff that's online. I just haven't put it on yet. I don't know what's the holdup. I guess it's the fact that AJ made me realize a while back that putting so much out at once makes everything just kind of lose views. And we found out the hard way, in a good way though, that when you put up something as massive as Terrifier and let it simmer, you can get almost 2,000 views on a video. So there you go.
Challenger's review really took off in an unexpected way too.
I'm sure people are finding it now too, given the fact that it may get some nominations on Thursday, hopefully. All right. So thanks everyone, live or in archive. Spencer, Brian, Josie, thanks everyone for joining us in chat tonight. We had some fun doing our little QA show. We're back here again Thursday morning with no chats, nothing like that. We're just going to react like we always do, 3 separate videos. And then, of course, that night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have a chat and we'll be discussing what exactly happened, both good and bad, for the actual Oscar nominations, and find out who was the best at predicting between the 3 of us as we move closer and closer to find out how badly I'm going to lose this award season. AJ's movie reviews will be coming back. We talked about Den of Thieves, which is going to be here sooner rather than later. First of many of 2025.
Back in action with it.
Yes. The content you love from AJ in 2024 will return in one way, shape, or form before the year ends. So a lot of the segments you liked are going to be back. So get ready for that. And Ashley can be found with more gaming content in the near future, as well as more snack stashes. I've got more sip and snacks coming very soon. I mean, again, I got stuff in my fridge right now I need to do videos for. Lots of voices content. Ashley can be found on X at Ash is my name UK. I'm still utilizing at Suro and Disney. And that's your show. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Thanks everyone for listening. And as always, until next time, boys and girls, always have the best day ever. Wear your heart on your sleeve. And at the end of the day, that's all we got to say about that.
I was not expecting us to go that long.
Oh, neither was I.